again?
Okay, here we go.
Wait.
Welcome. You're listening to The Best of Investing on Talk 910. I'm your host, Edward Brown, and I'm proud to have as my co-host Mark Hanf of Pacific Private Money, one of the fastest growing mortgage investment firms in California, and Patti Cohen of Pacific Union Realty. Our phone number is 888-912-1190. Use that number to answer the trivia questions for 3 vacations given away during each commercial break. The vacations are not sponsored by the radio station, but by Lighthouse Resort and Marina, located 1 hour northeast of San Francisco. And the vacations are free. Their only request is a $75 cleaning fee to cover the housekeeping expenses. And today's trivia theme is internet shopping. Some kind of history questions about that.
I should do good at that.
You should do well at that.
I do a lot of internet shopping.
Okay. Our website is bestofinvesting.com. Check us out on Comcast Channel 26 because we are recorded for television, and AT&T Channel 99 Saturdays at noon, Sundays at 6 p.m. Today's special guest is Professor Robin Feldman, who we've had on the show in the past. Now, Robin is a law professor at UC Hastings College of Law. She's an expert in patents and has some new information coming down the pike through legislation regarding patent trolls. Now, these are not the trolls that sit underneath the bridge, are they, Robin?
Not at all, although perhaps if they were under bridges, we would all be a lot happier.
Yeah. Okay. So why don't you explain to us, first of all, what is a patent troll, and then get into the legislation?
Of course. So in recent years, the U.S. patent system has been turned on its head. The majority of patent lawsuits are filed now by entities that make no products. Their business model is based on extracting money from those who do make products.
So sort of like ambulance chasing, in a way.
It's a very lucrative business because there are aspects of the U.S. patent system that allow patent traders to bargain for returns far above the value of the patent. So here's how it works. If you're a computer company, I can knock on the door and say, I have a patent on gummy bears, and you are violating my patent. And if you say to me, how am I violating your patent? Then you say, well, I don't actually have to tell you that, but it will cost you between $600,000 and $6 million to challenge it in court.
Wow.
If you don't like this one, I've got many more I can throw at you. So why don't you take a license? It's a whole lot cheaper. This is the basic patent troll model, and it now accounts for the majority of the patent lawsuits.
Didn't these attorneys who take these on, didn't their moms ever teach them the difference between right and wrong?
Well, one of the things I say as an academic is that you can't blame people for following the incentives that we've left space for in the legal system. That's what Congress is looking at now. How do we change the laws that are out there to try to make patent trolling a less attractive practice?
Wow.
So we have 2 bills that have been recently introduced in Congress. One of them was introduced by the chair of the House Judiciary Committee, and this is a bill that passed the House overwhelmingly last term. And then we have a new bill, however, this week. It was introduced by Senator Coons on behalf of 3 senators, and that's the one that's getting a lot of attention.
So it's like legal blackmailing in a way. But so what's the solution? What kind of legislation are they doing?
So the bill that passed the House last time around that didn't get through the Senate but is being looked at now. This is a bill that does a variety of things. First of all, it says if you would like to file a patent lawsuit, you have to actually show that you have a basis for filing it. It will no longer be enough to just say, I have a patent, that store over there is infringing it, let's go to court. So these are called
why wasn't that in the past? I mean, it seems kind of obvious that, like in small claims court, if I understand it correctly, you're not allowed to sue someone unless you first try to work it out with them.
In many areas of the law, you are supposed to make an affirmative showing of why it is you think you have a claim. The courts have ruled that that doesn't apply in the patent area, and so based on a variety of details, this is how the patent business has unfolded in many areas.
Incredible.
How much resistance is there to this new legislation, do you think?
Well, I think the bill that was offered by 3 senators this week is an example of the resistance that's going on. It's the opposition, essentially opposition to patent reform, and it is a garden of delight for patent trolls.
But I wonder.
It's full of all kinds of tricks that patent trolls can use, and I would refer to it as another full employment for lawyers act, because it's just full of all these wonderful games that people can play to try to trip up companies and keep them from being able to knock out these lawsuits.
So, Robin, just from a common sense standpoint, why would an attorney? I understand they want to do what's best for themselves in these trolls, but from a common sense standpoint, why wouldn't they be willing to explain ahead of time? You know, this is what my issue is, rather than no, you're just going to have to guess. Which actually, it's funny. I know of a situation in the South Bay where the fire marshal said this situation for the water system and the fire sprinklers wasn't correct, and the contractor said, "Well, tell me what's wrong and I'll fix it." And she said, "No, you just have to guess what it is, and I'm going to keep charging you every time you come back." And this is a true story. I'm going to keep charging you until you figure out what I basically am trying to get you to do.
That's insane.
It's insane.
That is precisely the way things unfold here. The name of the game for a patent troll is to spend as little money as possible and to create as much pressure as possible for a company to say, it's just rational for me to settle. I've heard so many boards of directors and executives of big companies and small say, look, it will cost me too much money to try to figure out what's going on here. It's easier if I just send them $100,000, $1 million, if you're a little company, $50,000, whatever it is, maybe I can make it go away.
Okay, but then that attorney, he'll just tell his friend, oh, by the way, you start a brand new lawsuit, come with a whole different thing of, okay, you don't know what I'm going to sue you for, but I've got a patent that you're infringing upon. I mean, you could just that could go on forever.
I was on a panel with an executive from one of the film companies, and he looked out at a group of business members and said, look, every time you pay a troll, you've become their customer.
Yeah.
You're on their customer list.
Exactly.
They share their customer list with their friends.
Yeah, just like the old Nigerian nightmare.
It's like the pimps.
Yeah.
Well, we do have to look to Congress now to try to fix this. It's an important area. It affects businesses all up and down the spectrum, from our big tech companies like Apple to banks and retail stores to mom and pop restaurants. It's a problem, and that really is the level at which it needs to be fixed.
I mean, otherwise, what you do is just say, you know what, bring it on, and wait to see what comes down the pike with the standpoint of the legal documents that you get served with that say that this is the patent that you infringed upon, right?
There are an increasing number of companies that have said, we are simply going to fight these, and we are willing to spend the money that it will take to do that. If you are a larger company, you're in a better position to do that, because you can burn a lot of money.
But the other ones, though, I mean, to serve the lawsuit, I mean, they're going to have to spend some money to figure out what legal paperwork to file. You have to say, when you serve somebody papers to sue, at that point you have to tell them what you're suing them for, right? Don't you?
No, you actually, under some local rules now, you don't actually have to tell them much at all until about 18 months into the lawsuit.
Until a judge, you get in front of the judge, you say, Your Honor, I'm still not even going to tell you what I'm suing them for. Just make a judgment. I mean, come on. It's ridiculous. I'm sorry.
So, Robin, what was the other gist of the other piece of legislation?
So the piece of legislation that was the sort of what I refer to as the anti-reform legislation, called the Strong Bill. This is one that has provisions in it that would create even bigger problems. So the government has acknowledged that a piece of the problem is patent quality. There are 2 million active patents out there, and many of them are simply invalid. And we have wonderful government reports acknowledging this, as well as private reports in the same way. So in 2011, Congress set up a system to challenge a bad patent by filing something at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, much cheaper than trying to go to court. This bill, the Coons-Strong bill, slams the door on that.
Awesome. Well, much needed, and it's about time, because this has just been, I mean, we don't hear it in the news all the time, every day, but when I read about it, it just makes my blood boil. It's just so frustrating.
Well, It frosts you. So, Robin, now you're quite accomplished, being a professor at U.S. Hastings College of Law. So, what is your position then, since you're a professor? I mean, how are you involved in this?
So I have published a number of studies that have examined the impact of patent trolling and also have tried to highlight some of the weaknesses in the system that are making this so attractive. I've also testified in both the House and the Senate and the California legislature about what's happening.
Good.
But I think one of the more interesting sets of information is one that I released a couple of weeks ago with Mark Lemley at Stanford Law School. And we went out to companies and talked to the general counsels and the lawyers who actually write these licenses. When someone comes and says, come and take a license to our product, and we looked at whether or not those licenses ever create new products or services, any markers of innovation in any way, because the patent trolls say we're just middlemen. We're helping facilitate innovation. We're good players in the field. So we looked at that, and overwhelmingly, what we saw is that there is absolutely no innovation happening out of this activity.
That's why they're called trolls.
It's wasteful.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Robin, thank you so much for joining us on The Best of Investing. You've been listening to Professor Robin Feldman, who is professor at UC Hastings College of Law, teaching us about patent trolls and legislation is hopefully going to stop that.
Where can people go for more information?
I suggest that you go to your local representative and give your thoughts on this. And if you wish to look for more information, you can look on the University of California Hastings website and type in patent trolls, and you'll pull up a fair amount of information.
More than you want, probably, right?
Yeah,
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me back.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
That was fascinating. She's
Yeah, no, she's
Awesome.
good. She's good. Okay, tell you what, we're going to cut to a first commercial break here, and here is our first trivia question. Again, the theme is internet shopping. What was the first item sold in an auction on eBay.com? The first three callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. What was the first item sold in an auction on eBay.com? All right, stay with us because you're listening to The Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown with Mark Hahn and Patti Cohen. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I forgot. I do remember the beginning of eBay.
It was not a grilled cheese sandwich that went for $25,000. Someone said, yeah, because apparently it looked like the Virgin Mary.
Nice.
I
Oh
can eat
my
something like
God!
that.
People
It's
are
toast.
insane. Wow.
That was interesting. Yeah, it's incredible that I just can't stand attorneys that are just evil.
Oh, there's
And
so many.
Yeah, I've had to
Not
deal
all, but so many.
with most of them. I put most of them in that category, unfortunately.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people sitting around with patents that were, it's outdated. They
Yeah.
got them years ago. They don't do anything with it, but it's extortion. It reminds me of
It is.
mafia, where
Yeah.
they come to you and it's like, what? Want to play ball?
Yeah.
You can give me a little something here.
That's
If you
it.
don't, we can
Yes.
make your life hell.
Well, do you ever watch Shark Tank?
Yeah.
Mark Cuban, he hates that stuff,
Yeah.
and he'll be very vocal about it.
What do we do next?
Let's get an email time. How's that? Okay. An email for you. Any for me. Here an email. There an email. Everybody. Old McDonald had an email. Okay. All right. Here we go. Welcome back to The Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hoff and Patti Cohen. When we cut to the first commercial break, we asked this trivia question about internet shopping. What was the first item sold in an auction on eBay.com? Come on, Mark. You're the internet shopping guy.
What were those dolls called that were
Cabbage
good?
Cabbage
Patch?
Patch, yeah.
No.
It was
A rare corn?
No, it was a broken laser pointer.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was mostly, yeah, because it was mostly the guy was trying to test it to see if I guess if the system worked.
Fascinating.
That was kind of tough. Okay, now before we get into email, we do have a special trivia contest. The winner is going to get a 2-night stay at the beautiful Mount View Hotel in Calistoga. All right. So the Mount View Hotel and Spa in Napa Valley. It's a premier boutique Calistoga hotel celebrating over 100 years of hospitality. I've stayed there. It's actually quite exquisite. It's a Zagat rated in top U.S. hotels and spas and a member of the Green Hotels Association. Features luxury suites, private cottages, and an award-winning spa to inspire romance, rejuvenation, and relaxation in the legendary Napa Valley wine country. Voted Best Boutique Hotel in Napa, 2012, 13, and 14.
Wow.
Start with a continental breakfast in bed and spend the day in a top-rated spa. Take a dip in the healing waters of the mineral whirlpool and lounge in a poolside cabana by the heated pool. So check them out at Mount View Hotel and Spa, 800-816-6877. Now here's the question. In what movie is the license plate changed each time you see the car?
Really? They did this on purpose?
I guess they did. All right, so here are the rules. No previous winners on the Best of Investing, and email by midnight tonight, edward@bestofinvesting.com, the answer to that question. We'll read the answer next week, and hopefully we'll have a winner, and we'll choose randomly among the correct answers that we received. Okay, let's get right into email time here. And what do we have here for Mark? It says, in email, it says, I want to do a real estate deal, and I know that you don't provide 100% financing. What advice can you give me?
Aha, okay. Well, we don't, at Pacific Private Money, we're private money lenders, also called hard money lenders for the real estate investment community. And we provide financing for people who are acquiring property to fix and flip. Now, the question about 100% financing is an interesting one because it's difficult to find 100% financing, but it's not difficult to buy and fix and flip real estate or invest in real estate with 100% OPM. So you really
explain what OPM.
So OPM is other people's money. So it's easy to do. It's easy to invest in real estate with 100% other people's money. People do it all the time. In fact, when I came up in the business in the 80s as a youngin, watching my dad invest in real estate, he was a licensed general contractor, and he almost never put his own capital into a project because he would go out and find somebody with money and convince them that he could help make them a very, very high return investing in real estate alongside him. So he would do joint ventures where he would provide the opportunity and be the manager of that opportunity, et cetera, in exchange for the guy putting up the capital, and they would joint venture, do a 50-50 split. So that's still very much doable today, and in fact, so much so that if you don't know anybody with money and you don't know how to go out and find someone with money to invest with you, the next best thing is something that's relatively recent, at least as far as I know, in the private money lending arena, and that is it comes under several names. It's, some people call it SAM lending, short for shared appreciation mortgage, or gap financing, meaning they provide the gap in funding that you need to get a project done. And it works like this. So a lot of people come to us at Pacific Private Money and say, I need financing for a property we're going to acquire, remodel, and flip, and based on all the numbers, we think we're going to make a really good profit. So we'll check the deal out, and if we can confirm that they in fact look like their numbers are accurate, we will provide at Pacific a acquisition loan equal to 70% of the acquisition price. Now, what about the 30% down payment plus the remodeling costs? Well, you can actually borrow that today from SAM or GAP lenders out there, and these people are generally just private individuals, much like the private individuals I go to fund my loans, but these guys are a little bit more sophisticated in the ways of real estate, and they make their capital available in basically as a joint venture partner, so to speak, but it's really in the form of a loan. And in commercial financing, this is oftentimes known as mezzanine financing or mezz debt. not so as common in residential fixing and flipping, but again, in the last couple of years, people with money to invest have been looking for creative ways to make more money in real estate, but by taking less risk. So they will provide the capital to you if you find the deal and you've got experience and credibility and you're able to spark up a relationship with this secondary financing resource, and they will charge you. Now, the truth of the matter is it's expensive financing. I mean, let's face it. So you can either go out and find a capital partner and maybe do a 50-50 split, or you borrow the money. You borrow 100% of the
Well,
money.
give us an example with numbers.
You're such an accountant. You always want
Of course.
numbers. I'm not going to give you numbers. I'm going to give it to you in very broad strokes.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
so
Fine.
it's a $100,000 acquisition, and you're going to put $25,000 into it and hope to sell it for $200,000. So, $100,000 acquisition price. I'll provide a loan at Pacific Private Money for 70% of that, or $70,000. Now you need the $30,000 plus the $25,000.
Correct.
Not worry about closing cost and all that stuff. I have a pretty large list of private individual gap funding sources in my database that and I provide them in a list form to people who call. And I'm not going to do the work for you. That's the that's the quid pro quo. I'm happy to give you the list, but I'm not going to call them for you. You got to do that homework. You got to call them up, find out if they're interested in doing the deal, and they'll tell you what the price of the money is for that. In my example, $55,000, which means you're literally coming in with no money down. Now, a typical cost of that financing, here's where we get to the meat of the matter, would be some points up front to pay for the documentation costs. And the note rate is typically 12%, and it's for 6 months. The 6-month term is fairly common. The biggest cost of the money is on the back end in the form of an exit fee. It's called an exit fee because it's paid at the end when the property sells, and it can be anywhere from 10 to 25 points. That's 10 to 25% of the money you borrow. So if you're borrowing, let's say $50,000, and you're paying 20 points on the back end, that would be an additional $10,000.
And again, this isn't your cost. You're talking about Sam or the other person.
The other person, right? The gap financing source is going to charge you that fee, and so they make it. So they're really designed their business model to make an exceptional return on their capital over a 6-month period. But then again, you got to figure they're taking all the risk.
They're basically in second position.
They're in second position, but they are taking the risk that you know what you're doing, that you're not going to fall flat on your face, that you're not going to come in under budget, and all of a sudden the project stalls. They're assuming a lot of different things. So again, 100% OPM, 100% financing. It is available out there. It is expensive. For more information, go ahead and send me an email or give me a call. Look us. My phone number and email address are on my website at pacificprivatemoney.com. That's pacificprivatemoney.com. Call us at 415-883-2150. I'm happy to share that list with you because the best thing to do is to go out and find a secondary money partner first, strike up a relationship with them, then go out and find opportunities that make sense, and then come to a company like mine, like Pacific Private Money, and we'll provide the acquisition financing for you and send you on your way.
Okay, but like for example, this lister, he really could call you and say, I need 100% financing, and maybe you won't provide it yourself.
I'll send them the list.
You'll send him the list,
yeah.
which is
free.
Which is great because at least you'll provide the 70%, but you've got a whole list of people.
I'm not gonna make you sign a contract that makes you promise to come back and use me for the initial financing. I don't work that way. I let Karma take care of things.
I know Karma. He's a very good guy.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, we're going to cut to a second commercial break. When we come back, we're going to get back with Patti here because I know we got some good real estate stuff to talk about. An email question for you too. All right, so here's the second trivia question regarding internet shopping. Which pizza company was the first to have substantial online ordering? The first 3 callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. Again, we're talking internet shopping. Which pizza company was the first to have substantial online ordering? All right, stay with us. The Best of Investing will be right back.
Oh, good stuff.
Is it a trick question?
No. Save fund number 2. Save. That one.
Have you ever? I never see any listings from you in Marin Magazine. Is it because you move them always so fast?
I move fast. I really
Yeah, I always wondered about those.
You know,
It's
that's a
the
good
same-
question you
it's
could
the
ask
same
her during.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because I see the same faces of the same people with their glossy listings that I just
Yeah.
assume are massively overpriced.
do. Well, yeah, I mean,
10,
and
15, 20, $25 million listings.
yeah,
But
and it's
maybe-
pretty
maybe
much
it's-
how you market
yeah,
yourself because it's not to sell the property. It's a listing tool. Most of what we do is a listing tool. The best way you can do is negotiate. You have to hire someone that can really negotiate, that can price correctly,
Yeah.
and can really garner the initial kind of urgency and get the job done.
And your thing is you're the top listing agent, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's actually a good
Can
listing.
you ask that
I
question
will.
after I get into her email question?
Right. Sure, I will. After you're done with your email question, I'll do. Hey,
Yeah.
yes.
Good, very good. Very good. Well, welcome back to the Best of Investing. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Pond, president of Pacific Private Money, and Patti Cohn of Pacific Union Realty. Too many Pacifics around here. When we got to the second commercial break, we asked this trivia question about internet shopping. Which pizza company was the first to have substantial online ordering?
Domino's?
See, that's what I would have thought. Pizza Hut.
Is that the pizza?
No, Pizza Hut.
Pizza Hut.
That's Caesar's Pizza.
Oh, pizza.
Pizza. Very good. Okay, so Patty, we got an email question for you here, and then Mark's got a very good question he wants to ask you. So, question says here, I would like your advice as to whether I should look for an agent who is with a large agency or a small one.
That is a great question, and I think that the reason consumers have so many questions when it comes to how do I find the right agent is because it's very difficult to differentiate. A lot of it is about who they are, and you don't know who they are until you get into it, and then you're either really happy or you're burned. So it's a great question, and the first stepping back for a minute is, are you the buyer or are you the seller?
Good point.
And even more important than that, I think the question is, the agent or the broker is more important than the company they work for. Because you can have somebody at the biggest company that's really well established that has the infrastructure for marketing, and they might be brand new, or they might be, phasing out and does a deal. If you put it this way, if you need somebody that's going to do a lot of business that can have their pulse on the finger of it.
Yes, you don't want somebody who says, yeah, I've been in the business for 30 years, but yeah, by the way, I'm vacationing every 3 weeks in Hawaii, and I'm only here once a week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They do a deal or two a year. And
Yeah.
and in our expensive markets like the South Bay and San Francisco and Marin, the average agent is going to do 2 or 3 deals a year. So the value is in their negotiating. And if 25% of their income or 30% is based on your sale, they're going to sell you out in negotiation.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's in their best interest, not the sellers. You know?
Exactly. So in terms of somebody, there's buyer's agents and there's seller's agents, and we do everything. But if you're a buyer, you really want to ask them how many buyers have you successfully represented in the last year? Who they work for really doesn't matter, and who's their network. I mean, do they get along well with the other boys and girls, or do they network with people and they know what's coming on the market? In terms of who should you pick as a seller's agent, to list your property and market it and get you the best price, you really, it does make a difference to be with a large company because you want to know what their infrastructure is and how are they marketing it, what's their reach, and do they have a luxury component for like Sotheby's or Christie's or whatever. And really importantly, you need to make sure who is the agent and ask them the questions. How many have you sold in the last year? Where were they? What were the price ranges? How long have you been in the business? How many
Yeah,
listings do you have
if
now?
their budget is, I'm going to put an ad in Craigslist for you. That's the person you want to deal with.
Exactly. And do they speak? If you've got like a a $200,000 tract home, then, does that person work that neighborhood a lot? If you've got a $15 million property, does that agent look the part, speak the part? Do they know how to market it in a very broad way worldwide so that you get exposure to those people that can afford it?
Very good point. Before we get into Mark's question for you, how do people get a hold of you? Because you sound like you've got a lot of information. Because if I'm not mistaken, aren't you number one?
Well, I've been doing this for 26 years, and I'm a really strong listing agent. I do a lot of volume in terms of listings.
Yeah.
And so I'm with Pacific Union International, Patti Cohn, 415-722-4842, or Patti, Patti.Cohn, COHN, at pacificunion.com.
Very good.
So Patti, my question for you is that I get a lot of glossy periodicals at home, local periodicals like Marin Magazine, San Francisco Magazine, and every time I flip through, like for example, Marin Magazine, like the last 10 pages, 15 pages are always these really glossy photographs of high-end homes in southern Marin or San Francisco selling for millions and millions of dollars. And I know you've been a top-selling listing agent for many years running now, but I never see your smiling face on any of those listings. Why is that?
Well, it's really a listing tool. It's not so much to sell the property because, especially these days where, on the internet in a minute on your phone, you can find out how much a property is and see the photos, and everything's transparent now. So it's a way of attracting more sellers. And, what an agent wants to do is attract more sellers, and that's our drug of choice.
So it's not because these properties are overpriced and they're hoping someone will see the picture and buy it, or is it, so you're saying it's a listing tool not to actually sell that?
So that eventually, let's say when I want to sell my house,
yeah.
I'll just go, oh wow, that person was listing a $15 million property.
Right.
Got it.
Because it really, more than any other business that I can think of, as a consumer, it's very difficult to figure out how do I pick an agent. There's hundreds of them already.
Yeah.
There's thousands of them. It's not hard to find an agent, but how do you find the right one? So as you're, glossing through those magazines, you go, wow, she sold that, she sold that, she sold that. I'm calling her. And then it's the sales jobs from there.
So now it makes sense, because I always wondered why they would have a full-page ad showing a bunch of properties with a big sold across it. Because it's like, okay, well, they spent money on that, but they're already sold. What if? So obviously it's a listing tool. Okay.
Yeah. And think about it as
too obvious. I didn't quite put two and two together there.
And as a consumer, how do you pick the person? Do you got a postcard in the mail? She just sold that. Okay. I saw the sign out in my neighborhood. I see, there's only so many ways, or word of mouth, or doing it. If you do an internet search, you can find out a lot, but not so much either. I mean, it's very difficult to pick an agent. So I would have my top, and I have those questions. If you want to call me, I have the top 15 questions to ask an agent before you hire them.
Do you find that many people ask you those questions when they call you?
They don't. And it's just they're kind of blind. Like, how do I know this is the right person? And then, we're all salespeople, so we connect with people quickly. So now you like everybody. You don't know who.
Well, no, I could see people asking, somebody a friend of theirs who their house just sold. Hey, did you get the price you wanted? I mean, did your agent treat you well? The typical referral.
Right.
Then there's also the in your neighborhood. If you see a sign, every 10 times, of the same agent, maybe that is a good thing.
It is a good thing usually.
Because they know their market. Like people, let's say, who specialize in Eichler homes. They're special, or manufactured homes. There are specialties.
Right. And pricing is not a science. So how, did you get the price you want? Well, I don't know. I mean, I wanted $1.5 million, but it's really only worth $1.2 million, and we got $1.1 million, or we got $1.3 million.
Well, okay, let me ask you, do you go to that old adage of when both sides are unhappy, then that's a good deal?
Well, I mean, actually, a deal is quite a miracle because that means both sides are actually happy for that moment.
Yeah.
So it's a miracle, really, but we're in such a strong seller's market right now. Buyers are giving away things. And here's a topic that's come up a lot where buyers just step in and don't have contingencies at all.
Wow.
And we don't recommend that.
You don't. I mean, you got to get some kind of inspection.
Yeah. So when
older house. Yeah, go ahead.
When I'm representing a seller and we have multiple offers and someone steps up and doesn't have a contingency, we'll maybe select that buyer because they're the highest price, but we'll counter that they have 5 days for inspections or 10 days. So we'll counter that. We'll give them a period for contingencies.
It's just protect yourself.
Yeah, protect the seller, protect the agents.
Because there's still disclosures you have to do, even if you're buying it as is.
Right.
Yeah, if you have known defects or that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I mean, we generally get reports up front. We have the seller get the reports right up front.
Yeah.
And even then, we still want the buyer to do any investigation that they want, because we know from 20 years ago when the market peaked and the dot-com situation, we know that that's when a lot of the lawsuits were, oh, but they wouldn't, I paid too much, and now I'm going to sue. Oh, they wouldn't let me get inspections or whatever. So we just want everyone to feel valued. And
I mean, it used to be like a 2-page contract. What's it now?
it's up to 10.
10 pages.
Yeah.
I've got a question for you. So you're a buyer's representative, you're a listing agent, and so I'm as someone who would approach and interview listing agents, my fear would be that because anybody who's a listing agent knows how to sell real estate. So my fear would be, you're going to talk me into selling it for less than what I could have got for a cheap price, just so you can get the deal done. Boom. In your mind, what's the most important thing that you actually bring to the client when they call you when they're looking for a listing agent?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And two things. One is pricing strategy. So I know what the correct price is. I know what it's going to go out at, and I'm pretty clear. I mean, the Bay Area is tough because we're mostly not tract homes.
Yeah.
But I can pretty much know what it's going to actually sell for and what we're going to ask. And sometimes we're going to ask slightly less. Sometimes we're going to ask slightly more, and sometimes we're going to ask right on.
Yeah.
So pricing strategy.
Because in theory, if you do price less, you're hoping for maybe a bidding war, or just some, just
right.
Oh my God, the price is so under, I got to bid 100,000 over to make sure I get something like
right.
that.
But not all properties are in that category.
Yeah,
If it's on a busy street with 72 stairs up, we're going to price it correctly. It's not going to go over. We got a narrow market.
No, these are very good, very good points.
And then the second thing is negotiation. I really know how to negotiate with other agents, play nice with boys and girls with smile face, but I am hitting it, and I know how to.
Well, that's the thing. I've been here for in this county for 52 years, and I've never heard any bad things about you.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Pins and needles. Yeah.
Because that's important. Because I would imagine that just getting the highest price isn't necessarily the number one thing that a buyer wants. They may think that, but it probably.
You mean the seller?
The seller.
The seller, right? The seller.
Well, yeah, it's a really good point, because what happens is one of the reasons we have such a logjam of inventory and there's no homes to sell is because the sellers don't know where they're going to go, or they have their eye on this beautiful property, but they've got to sell theirs first because nobody's going to take a contingency.
Anymore, yeah.
So let's just say there's a property worth $1.4 million, and it's got wide appeal. We're going to price it at $1,299,000 or $1,350,000, and we'll get it bid up. But in the process, that's where you can get your terms. So when they're competing, I'm going to negotiate a free 60-day rent back with a 30-day close. So now I'm giving my seller 90 days to find that dream home.
And I would think that kind of situation would be good for you, Mark, because then a lot of people who are sellers, if they find a house that they want to buy, but they can't qualify bank financing, they might be able to get a loan from you.
I got another call this week. I get one, I think, every week from a realtor who said, "Can you provide financing to help my client acquire a home first? They don't want to sell their existing home until they have another home to move into. They don't want to get stuck renting or moving twice." And the answer is yes, we do that a lot. And the reason they come to a private money lender like Pacific Private Money for an expensive acquisition loan is because many people don't qualify to have two home loans simultaneously. Not in this era of Dodd-Frank restrictions, et cetera.
Yeah.
It's a huge benefit in this market. What Mark's providing is a really strong product in this market.
Yeah.
Short-term bridge loan.
Pretty much everyone's got the same situation. And so anyway, so the other thing is when we do that, 60-day, 90-day rent back, a lot of times the buyers say, great, because I can't move in. I have to sell my own house first, even though it's not contingent.
Yeah.
So that's how. But if they can't do that, they're going to go to Mark and get some secondary bridge loan.
Very good. So now, Patti, you said you give out free 15 questions you should ask your agent.
Yeah, the top 15 questions.
So how do people get a hold of that?
They can call me at 415-722-4842 or email me at Patti, Patti, pacunion.com.
Okay, there's no obligation, just
No, not at
get
all.
filtered.
I'm
Very
happy
good.
to.
We give lots of free stuff out here. Which reminds me, we're coming to another commercial break here. Last trivia question. Today's trivia theme again is internet shopping. Which company is considered the largest for full-service travel arrangements? The first three callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Call 888-912-1190 to answer this question. Which company is considered the largest for full-service travel arrangements? Okay, call 888-912-1190 and stay with us. When we come back, we're going to have some closing comments on the best of investing. Stay tuned.
I just made that 15 thing up. But it's simple stuff like how long you've been in business, are you full time?
That's great. That was clever of you. 15 questions.
It works.
That's so easy. I mean, but I do have the questions that you
The
really
top
should ask.
15 questions.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Questions you should be asking.
Yeah.
People like getting free stuff, and then eventually comes around to, like Mark's book is not free; it's 99 cents.
That's right.
It's close enough.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you want to talk about the last segment?
I was going to actually provide a little bit more detail on what we touched on the bridge financing.
In your book. Got to talk about your book.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me explain the bridge loan thing because I didn't actually explain how it works. So I want to just that'll just take me a minute,
Okay.
and then ask me. By the way, we talked about last week how your book launched. How did that go? I'll brag about that.
Yeah, we only have, let's see here.
Might not have enough time.
I can't imagine it that long because we had I
It's
think the first two
4:56.
segments. How much?
9 minutes and 18 seconds.
Okay, well, yeah, but that goes fast. Okay.
Okay.
Welcome back to the best of investing. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, with Mark Hahn and Patti Cohen. When we get to the third commercial break, we ask this trivia question, internet question. Which company is considered the largest for full-service travel arrangements?
Expedia.
Expedia.com. That is correct.
My second guess would have been Travelocity.
I use Travelocity myself. Okay, so Mark, before we cut to break, you were starting to talk about bridge loans, and you wanted to explain a little.
Well, Patti was talking about, among other things, she mentioned about how we're in such a tight market right now. One of the problems with selling your home is where are you going to move? Because you sell your home and you're bidding war, and it's really exciting, and maybe you get more than you thought you were going to get for your house. But then you got to move somewhere, right? And so what ends up happening in a market like this is that, we step in to come up with creative solutions to help people, not have to move twice or get stuck selling your home and have nowhere to go. And so we've got this product called the Consumer Bridge Loan, and it's essentially a loan that allows a homeowner who's thinking of selling their house to get financing to buy their next home first. So we call the next home the target home, and their existing home is their existing home. Now, the most obvious question is, well, why wouldn't someone just go get bank financing to buy their target home first? Well, the answer to that is that many people don't qualify to have two substantial mortgages at the same time. They don't make the kind of money it takes now in this era of Dodd-Frank and full documentation to have two mortgages. So now in private money, also known as hard money, we don't have that issue. We really look at the equity. So we are doing this. In fact, we've done more of these short-term bridge acquisition loans in the last 12 months than the last 5 years combined. I mean, it's just really gotten an amazing amount of publicity. And so how it works is if you're thinking of selling your home, but you've identified the home you want to buy and you want to close on that home first so that you can sell your home and move in all at the same time, we will provide up to 70% of the financing or more. It could be up to 100% actually if you have equity in your existing home. So that's actually something that we've done several times. We've done 100% of the acquisition financing for the target property. If they have equity in their existing home, they don't mind us crossing the collateral. So it is expensive. It's not cheap. We do charge, essentially 10%. It's written at 9.9% The payments are interest only. There's no prepayment penalty, so you can pay it off in 30 days, 60 days, 6 months. It's however long it takes you to finalize the entire both transactions. And it's a couple of points, typically 2 to 3 points, depending on the size of the loan. The larger the loan, the lower the fee as a percentage of the loan. But it's very easy to qualify for. We're doing them a lot, 3 or 4 of these per month, all over the Bay Area. We just did one recently in San Francisco. I think it was about $1.1 million was the size of the bridge loan. Now, obviously, it's expensive money, but you got to look at it this way. It it eliminates the stress of the fact that you sell your home, where are you going to move? It eliminates the stress of moving twice, and depending on how much stuff you have and how expensive storage might be, and or temporary living situation, it might actually be less expensive or about the same price to acquire to pay for an expensive, a relatively expensive hard money bridge loan.
Yeah, the alternative is to get a storage unit and pitch a tent in there.
Yeah.
I don't think my wife would like that.
That's right.
Okay.
So, ask me.
Okay, so last week, you're chomping at the bit here.
That's
last
right.
week,
That's right.
you launched your book, and it was #1 on Amazon. I've heard of them before.
It was?
It was.
It was. I was
Oh my gosh.
So, for those listening last week, we did the little announcement. I wrote a book called The Insider's Guide to Attracting Private Money. It's a relatively short book because I write very concise. I've always been a concise business writer. I don't like fluff. I don't even like reading books that are like 100 pages of stories and 50 pages of meat. So I wrote a book that's 50 pages of meat, and I mean it's 50 pages of meat.
I read it.
If you're a real estate investor and one of the questions on your mind from time to time is, how do I find my own private capital? How do I find private investors? What do I do? This is the answer to that question. I get that question more often from borrowers than any other question is, that and will you share your private lender list with me? Which is no, but I'll help show you how to find your own private lenders. So we launched it on Wednesday, and for 3 days we were #1, and at one point we were #1 in 4 categories. Now, Amazon is interesting. The New York Times bestseller list is a compilation of weekly sales, so that's a really big thing to get on the New York Times bestseller list. Amazon counts these sales on an hour-by-hour basis. So the dirty little secret is that some people can claim to be an Amazon bestseller and realistically will only a bestseller for 1 hour because they happen to outsell a few more units than one of the other true bestsellers. But actually, we did it for more than an hour. We were actually for several days. We were at the top of 4 categories in the real estate category. In fact, even in the real estate category, for 2 days, we were ahead of Zillow, which was really cool. Zillow right now is the Zillow book. Zillow Talk is actually #1 in the real estate category
the name
nationwide.
of the book, how do people get it? Because you can buy it for what?
So you can buy the Kindle version for 99
99
cents.
cents.
Of course, there's a paperback option available. I think it's $11 and some change after discounted by Amazon. But for those of you who love Kindle, 99 cents gets you the Kindle version. We're going to keep it at 99 cents for a while. The book goes into some very specific detail about what it takes to attract private money. And for those people who read the book and want more, we give an option at the end of the book for you to participate in a program where we provide templates and other information for you, files basically for free to help you create your own what we call credibility package, which helps to attract private money.
I gotta say that the thing I really liked about Mark's book, besides being very concise, is that it wasn't so much of a teaser fluff thing that you have to read the whole thing and you go, he didn't tell me anything, I'm still waiting. And then there's the big pitch of, come to my seminar for $5,000. It's not like that. There's actual really good information in there that people can use. And then if they want to get really expansive, then there's some good stuff that they can sign up for.
Right. For 99 cents, you can learn some, and even reading some of this stuff after you read it, you're not going to go, oh my God, it's.
I can get my 99 cents worth. No.
Yeah, right.
Money back guarantee?
What I'm trying to say is that it's not going to be shocking because much of it is obvious, but just because it's obvious doesn't mean it occurs to most people. And what I will say is that I have looked at thousands and thousands of applications for loans over the years, and I got to tell you, 99% of the applicants don't do what I suggest everyone does in my book.
See, and that is worth quite a lot.
Yep.
Get that information. So again, how do people get a hold of it? And then we'll cut to our thoughts for the day.
The book has its own website, attractingprivatemoneybook.com. Now, if you forget that it's all 4 words, attractingprivatemoneybook.com, you could also go to the link on my website at pacificprivatemoney.com.
Very good. Okay, here's our thoughts for the day. Got to cut out here, boys and girls. These are baseball thoughts. I've observed that baseball is not unlike war, and when you get right down to it, we are batters. We batters are the heavy artillery. Ty Cobb said that. And Ruth said, don't let the fear of striking out hold you back, from a man who struck out over 1,300 times. Tune in next week to The Best Investing. We're going to be giving away 9 more free vacations for answering trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown, wishing you the best of investing. So long. Oh!
Wow, I'm just amazed at how you managed.
So funny.
Guys, like.